friends, welcome back to Food Prep Guide. Today is all about seeds. When I first started gardening, I absolutely loved watching videos of what other people planted because I just loved to glean ideas from them, from people more experienced than I was, and I didn't even know that there were so many seed varieties for each individual plant. And I also didn't know that certain seed varieties were far more prolific than other ones. And just over the years, through planting in my own garden and through research, I have found those prolific plants, what produces well for me, and I wanted to share my top 10 must-haves in my garden every year. These are the crops that I will plant in my garden without fail every year. Even if I'm starting to run out of space, I will make room for these 10 plants. Now, in my garden, I am primarily staples gardening, and what that means is I am growing staple foods that I can then preserve and feed my family throughout the year. So they need to be crops that preserve well, like through dehydrating and canning, even freeze drying or even just freezing, and things that are multi-purpose for making meals. So like I don't want to grow necessarily broccoli because you only get one head per plant, which isn't that much of a yield, and I can't really build a whole lot of meals around broccoli. But tomatoes, you know, those can make your pastas and your pizza sauces, and diced tomatoes and your soups and your stews, and the possibilities are endless. So those are the type of crops that I focus on in my garden, and those are the crops you're going to see in this top 10 list. Let's get started. First up is Zucchini rampicante. I've really got to look up how to pronounce that word because I don't know how to pronounce it. But that's what it is. It's in the zucchini family, and it is a wonderful alternative to your typical green, like Black Beauty type zucchini. If you have planted traditional zucchini in the past, you know that it is a pest magnet. You're talking squash bugs and squash vine borers, and they can wipe out a crop faster than it's insane. And I love using zucchini because it is multi-purpose, and as I've gardened throughout the years, I have learned how to use zucchini to stretch canning projects. Zucchini takes on the taste of whatever you cook it in. So you can use it to stretch salsa. You can use it to make a mock apple pie filling. I know it sounds weird, but you can do it. And it's because zucchini takes on the flavor of whatever you cook it with. So having that in my garden and being able to grow a large volume of it is important for me, because if I have a crop that doesn't perform as well, I can take that zucchini, pair it with that, bulk it up, and continue on with my canning projects. But I kept losing plants to squash vine borer and squash bugs, and not only that, they were drawing in the squash bugs, which would then introduce those to my other plants like cucumbers. So I was looking for a variety that did not draw in those pests, that could withstand that pest pressure, and that is this Zucchini rampicante. Now it can grow about 3 feet long, and when you pick it early, it's green, and it makes a 1-to-1 substitute for your traditional zucchini. But if you leave it on the vine and let it grow bigger, it will turn orange. And when it does, it turns the same type of orange as like a butternut squash. And the inside turns orange too, and it tastes like butternut squash. It also stores like butternut squash. Butternut squash, if you don't know, can store up for a year in storage with nothing done to it, just cool, dry, dark place. And that Zucchini rampicante can do the same thing. So it's like a 2-for-1 crop, and it's prolific. Oh yeah, another reason that I love this is it's a vining crop, so you can trellis it. If you have seen some of our past videos, you know I am an advocate for vertical gardening with trellises. They are just so much fun. They help you with avoiding a lot of the common diseases like powdery mildew, and you can plant more in less space. So I'm able to get a year's supply of like my zucchini on just 2 trellises, and I'm able to plant them closer together, and they do not attract squash bugs. And if a squash vine borer does happen to land on this, which it doesn't like it, but if it happens to, its stems are able to withstand the squash vine borer damage, and you're able to, when you trellis it, you're able to identify the very early signs of squash vine borer and get those out of there before they damage your crops. So absolutely recommend this plant. Number 2 is golden acre cabbage. Golden acre cabbage. So cabbage is it's a staple in our house because I learned a couple years ago that it dehydrates beautifully and it rehydrates well with boiling water. And so I'm able to shred those cabbage heads, store it in mason jars, vacuum seal it, and they're good on my shelf for a year or more. So I'm able to grow our year's supply of cabbage each year in one small 7-foot by 2-foot square foot garden bed. The reason I recommend this is because it matures earlier in as little as 65 to 70 days, and yet you still get a good sized cabbage. Next up is, let's see, cucumbers. Yes, I have 2 varieties here, but cucumbers are number 3 on my list, and that's because they are just a must if you're going to be doing pickles and relishes. If you are new to gardening or new to canning, you want to have a pickling cucumber. Most of the type of cucumbers that you get in the store are like a fresh muncher variety of cucumber. They're thinner skinned, they go bad faster, and they don't hold up into like your sliced pickles as well. So I recommend National Pickling Cucumber and Boston Pickling Cucumber. I'm growing both in my garden this year, side by side, each on their own dedicated trellis, because I want to see which one grows best in my area. But just know that you're going to want a pickling cucumber if you're going to be growing pickles, or excuse me, if you're going to be growing cucumbers to make pickles. Number 4, blue curled Scotch kale. This is not, I wouldn't consider this a staple crop because I'm not creating a whole bunch of meals out of it and I'm not really going to be preserving it, but I eat a salad almost every day for lunch and I always want to grow my own greens as long as possible. And kale, this blue curled Scotch kale, is producing and staying nice and green and not growing bitter long after my lettuce has already bolted and is already bitter. I can still harvest fresh greens from my garden even in the heat of summer with kale. Certain varieties of kale, and that blue Scotch curled kale is one of those varieties that you can still grow in the heat of summer. Also, lacinato kale, also known as dinosaur kale, can also take the heat as well. Number 5, spaghetti squash. This is a winter squash, but don't be confused like I was. Y'all, I thought winter squash meant you plant it in the winter, and that's just not the case. The reason why it's called winter squash is because it stores well all winter long. You still need to plant it in summer. So spaghetti squash is one of our favorites because if you don't know, when you cut open the spaghetti squash and bake it and use a fork to shred it, it comes out in long stringy noodles like spaghetti noodles, and it is a 1-to-1 replacement in your spaghetti dishes, and that's why we grow it. In fact, we specifically grow my goal is to grow and harvest 12 large spaghetti squashes, and I can usually get that on just one trellis. They grow vertically beautifully because they're a vining crop, and we like to eat this spaghetti squash spaghetti once a month, which means I need 12 good-sized spaghetti squashes to feed my family that meal for a year, and that is one of our other staple crops. It's delicious and it stores long. It's going to store for 9 to 12 months. Okay, tomatoes. Y'all, if you garden or if you have any experience whatsoever in the garden, you know that tomatoes are like a gardener's candy. You just can't get enough of it. There's so many different varieties, but there are 2 that I will always grow in addition to like my canning type Roma tomatoes. I will grow Berry's Crazy Cherry. It's a cherry tomato. They're yellow, but they are so prolific. If you can see that picture, he is holding one branch. That is one branch. And what they do is they grow in clusters of, I think it's like, 40 to 60 little cherry tomatoes per cluster. And of course, there are many clusters on each tomato vine. So this is a very prolific tomato, and since it's a cherry tomato, I can kind of squish it in underneath my trellises, and it's just an excellent tomato variety. Another tomato variety I will always grow, Cherokee Purple. Now this is an amazing slicer tomato. The flavor of this tomato is just incredible. I love that they turn like a blush purple color, and they get really large. And they're also even good when they're green. And I use my Cherokee purple tomatoes green last year to make my salsa verde. We have a video on canning salsa verde that I will link above if you're interested. Next is a pole bean, and specifically rattlesnake pole beans. This package is dirty and ripped because I just recently planted, but I will always grow a pole variety of green beans. You just get such higher yields with poling varieties than you do bush. At least that's been my experience. And these are very prolific. Rattlesnake pole beans. Last but not least, tall telephone peas. Now, my children absolutely love going out into the garden in early spring and taking these pods right off the vine and eating them straight. What I love about them is that they are a nitrogen fixing crop. That means I plant them on my tomato trellis in early spring, and throughout the early spring and very early summer, they are growing little nodules on their roots that are containing nitrogen. And what I do right before I plant my tomatoes is I will go through with scissors and I will snip these peas off right at the ground level, leaving their root systems intact and below the soil. And then I'll come through and plant my tomatoes on that same trellis. And then those roots are feeding those tomatoes nitrogen all season long. And of course, tomatoes are heavy nitrogen feeders. So it's just an awesome plant. The only issue is you have to plant a lot of peas in order to get a decent harvest, like to can or to freeze. So I actually don't even grow these anymore for the specific purpose of preserving, but I do grow them in the spring for tomatoes and just preparing my soil for tomatoes. This year, I am going to try planting these in the fall. I'm in zone 7B, and I feel like I can probably get away with an early pea harvest if I plant them in the fall and pull them up before our first hard frost. And I'm thinking about planting 3 trellises of them and see if I can get enough to make preservation worth it in the fall and winter garden, but we'll see. So that is number 10, or number 9. Last but not least is not actually a seed, but it is onions. And just in case you don't know, you always want to grow, if your goal is to grow large storage onions, like with the big bulbs, you want to start with onion starts or onion seedlings. You don't want to use those little bulbs that you get at the store, which it's unfortunate because when you go to the garden center, like no matter what store you go to and you go to onions, you see these bags of bulbs, and I think it leads a lot of people, I know it did me, it leads a lot of people to think, oh, well, if I want to grow onions, then I need to plant these bulbs and that'll give me the onions. But those bulbs are actually for, you're going to get big, beautiful green leaves, and that's about all you're going to get. Those are just not going to produce a big bulbing onion. So if you want to grow onions, you need to start from onion starts. I get mine from Dixondale Farms, and they are just fantastic. So that is my top 10 must-haves. Do I grow more than that? Absolutely. But those are my top 10 must-have seeds. Now, every year I will always have potatoes and sweet potatoes. Those are already in the ground, so I didn't have any potatoes on hand to show you. But I will always grow potatoes and sweet potatoes. When you talk about a staples garden and growing food to feed your family for the whole year that can create multiple meals from one crop, you just hardly cannot beat potatoes and sweet potatoes. Okay guys, I hope y'all enjoyed this seed talk as much as I did. We will see you on the next video. Bye!